Stop with the questions. Celebrate.
And then they say, is Donald Trump an intellectual? Trust me, I'm like a smart person. Yosemite's one of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water.
Mike Lindell's a conspiracy.
Well, you haven't. Person, woman, man, camera, TV. They said nobody gets it in order. It's actually not that easy, but for me it was easy.
Amazing.
He can't sit down. He's got a burning in his butthole. He's got a fire. He's got a flame coming out of his butthole.
Big, massive dumps.
Oh, I have a term for that. I call it corporate communism.
Somebody sent me a thing this morning where they're talking about putting the vaccine into salad dressing.
You see, this is a simple meme that you would find on the internet, but this meme is very real.
You ain't seen nothing yet until you see the flaming butthole.
Putting us on our knees to China.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
Clean coal, meaning they're taking out coal, they're going to clean it.
Bullshit.
The nation, Waldorf Nation. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. It's Tuesday. We got a show today. It's a good one. All right. So, look, we got stories. We got fun. We got disaster. Of course, I'm going to be criticizing the administration again, the Biden administration this time. We're going to be talking about Republicans. Including Herschel Walker and his theories about air. Interesting. So, we have that, and also we have just a brilliant response from a professor to Josh Hawley and his transphobia. That's awesome. That's probably my favorite video of the day, but we're going to start out with some polling that is not good for both Trump or Biden. It appears that the country is not looking forward to that rematch. I've got the details on that. So we'll start out with that. If you haven't already, please like and share the stream. Very important that you do so. With that said, let's dive in. Fun times. All right. Serious stuff. Let's go. It looks as though a significant number of voters are not looking to repeat the 2020 election. Turns out, of course, that election, Trump versus Biden. Oof. Let's just say that you all remember it wasn't good. Neither was 2016, Trump versus Clinton. That ended up worse. But still, the United States, the voters, regular people, they're looking at possible 2024 matchup between those two and saying, oh, dear God, not again. Not again. So now, that, of course, has Biden and Trump not happy. First, let's go to Biden. On Tuesday, the New York Times reported that the same pollster that showed about 3 and 4 Democrats were interested in nominating a replacement for President Joe Biden also found poor signs for former President Donald Trump among GOP voters. For Biden, I gave you this poll yesterday. I think it's really important. 94% of voters under 30 want to replace Joe Biden at the top of the ticket, to replace him with somebody else. I don't know who else. There are ideas. There are good ideas, there are bad ideas, but there are ideas. I would love to see a progressive in that place run against Joe Biden in a primary election because, look, what we're having right now, I don't think is working. So, that said, devastating, right? And the reason that this is devastating and that while, understand like blue wave Democratic establishment voters, why you really need to stop writing off young people, okay? Young voters overwhelmingly turned out for Joe Biden. He literally made the difference in the 2020 election. That is why we do not have Trump. Among fellow Democrats, Biden's approval rating stands at about 70%. Now, you might think, 70% is pretty good, right? No, that's actually really low considering, again, Democratic voters. These are historic lows. For a party that is supposed to be in power, you're supposed to have a much higher approval rating. And among all voters, Biden's approval rating has dipped down to 33%. Disastrous. Now, here is a breakdown of polling of some of the reasons Democratic voters actually want to see a new candidate replace Joe Biden. So here's that. 33% concerned about his age. He's 79. He's an older man. 32% say job performance. Okay, so I'll get to that. 12% just prefer somebody new. 10% not progressive enough. Certainly, I would fit into that 10%. I don't think he's nearly progressive enough. 4% ability to win the general. 3% mental acuity. 1% view on domestic issues. Others 3% and don't know. Again, all right. So now here's the thing. On job performance, the biggest reason that people will cite that is they just don't think he's done anything. They don't really, seem to have done, or I should say, they haven't seen him really do a whole lot. Now, again, there's been some actions, some executive orders. There was the COVID relief plan that was done at the beginning. And again, I gave him credit for pulling out of Afghanistan. I thought that was a good idea. The media did not agree with me on that. And so, some of those different things, he did a good job, but a lot of it, he didn't get anything done. As far as his domestic agenda, things like Build Back Better, expanding, or not just expanding, but extending the child tax credit, lowering the price of prescription drugs, it just hasn't worked. He hasn't been able to do these things. And again, of course, you can bring up that there is the pressure, or I should say resistance, from Joe Manchin, Kyrsten Sinema. Those are certainly reasons that Biden was not able to push through his agenda, of course, Republicans. But my issue, and this if you've been watching me, is that I don't believe that Joe Biden has been fighting hard enough on his own agenda to try to get members of his own party in line. And so I think that he's been doing a terrible job on the leadership front of pushing and fighting for his own agenda. And so I think that's the thing that a lot of Democrats, normal Democratic voters, tend to disagree with progressives on as far as, leadership style. I just haven't really seen any sort of leadership from Biden on these issues. All right. And so, and look, I'm not the only one. Again, 94% of younger voters are also dissatisfied with Biden. And so now let me give you one person here speaking to the New York Times. This is Randon Wright, a 41-year-old truck driver in Ocean Township, New Jersey, saying that he had talked with Biden. He's a Biden voter, okay, and will vote for Joe Biden in 2024 if he is the Democratic nominee. Just to be clear on all of that, because there seems to be this idea that if you criticize Joe Biden from the left, that automatically makes you in league with right-wingers, with Republicans. That's just not true. That's ridiculous. And also there seems to be this weird idea that if you criticize Joe Biden at all from the left, that you are being paid by Republicans. Again, that is also really stupid. That's just not true at all. So now, Wright, who again says, yeah, of course, if it's, yeah, Joe Biden's the nominee, of course I'm going to vote for Joe Biden. But here's what he says. He talked frequently with his friends about Biden's shortcomings and said this, quote, he's just not aggressive enough in getting his agenda done. Now, in contrast, he said, at least Trump wasn't afraid to get his people in line. Now, again, I'll point out how it is much easier for Republicans to do what they're going to do because the whole Republican agenda is to destroy. It is much easier to destroy than it is to build, to be fair. And I'm totally cognizant of that fact, right? And so the Republican job to destroy is much easier to do than the Democratic job that is to build, that is to expand, that is to create more opportunity and do these programs. And so, again, fair is fair, right? That said, I'd like to see Democrats actually, I don't know, fight to do these policies and to fight Republicans much harder than what they're doing, because right now they're not actually fighting Republicans. I don't see that. And so that's the big problem, right? Now, the response, of course, to this from the White House was to call very pro-choice activists, the very people who worked their asses off, got out and voted, knocked on doors, okay, went out, tried to worked very, very hard to get him elected. The White House says, "Oh, you activists, you are the ones that are out of touch with the Democratic Party because you dared to criticize us." In fact, here's the quote from Kate Bedingfield. Joe Biden's goal in responding to Dobbs, that is, of course, the case that overturned Roe, is not to satisfy some activists who have been consistently out of step with the mainstream of the Democratic Party, but to deliver help to women who are in danger and assemble a broad-based coalition to defend a woman's right to choose now, just as he assembled such a coalition to win during the 2020 campaign. So the response, of course, from these activists are like, why are you attacking us for just telling you to do the thing that we voted, that we worked to put you in the White House to do? In fact, here's Renee Bracey Sherman, founder of We Testify, an organization that spreads awareness about abortion. She said, all this White House has for people who need abortions is empty promises and disrespect. Haley McMahon, an abortion researcher and PhD student at Emory University, tweeted this: Biden and Democrats have done absolutely fuck all to help deliver help to women who are in danger, whatever that ultra vague bullshit means. I cannot emphasize enough how badly telling pro-choice women to go fuck themselves right after Roe was overturned is going to go. Not happy. Matt McDermott, a Democratic pollster and strategist, said, quote, it is remarkably concerning that there are members of the Biden administration who seem more frustrated at pro-choice activists than at Republicans who systematically dismantled abortion rights. Exactly. Fight Republicans. If you want us to elect you to fight Republicans, then we expect you to fight Republicans. We do not expect you to punch left. So, all of that. Plus, of course, you have the things that are outside of Biden's control. Inflation, supply chain issues, things like that. That he has no direct control of, right? That's making Democrats dread not only the midterms, but also, of course, the 2024 election. Again, not good. Now, there's one progressive group that does plan to issue a primary challenge to Joe Biden. Again, I'm in favor of it, but I don't exactly know at this moment who can actually put up a good enough challenge to Joe Biden. That said, let's go from Joe to Trump. For Trump, it appears that a lot of his own people have also soured on him. While Trump is still considerably ahead of any GOP challenger, according to an article, he also now only commands a plurality of the party, which is below 50%, and particularly poor numbers among younger and college-educated Republicans. The person who would do best against Trump happens to be Ron DeSantis, and he knows it. He knows it. That's why he's salty at Elon Musk. Elon Musk, who said, I will vote for Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis, again, is up and coming. He's pretty much the only person out there who represents a possible challenge to Donald Trump. So that's interesting. In fact, he has about 25% of Republican primary voters, and that's today. If the Republican primary were held today, he would get 25% of the vote, and of course, Trump would still win. These numbers, however, could change. He's DeSantis not even campaigning, and Donald Trump also has not announced a 2024 campaign, although he sees the threat from DeSantis. There is talk that he will actually announce his campaign earlier than he originally planned on it. So it looks like there's an appetite on the right for somebody other than Donald Trump. Now, even more important to this, at least on the Republican side, is the donors. Now, Republican donors are also said to be moving away from Trump, and many now believe that DeSantis should be the leader of the party in 2024. So that right there, that's real. If the donors want someone else, they're likely to get it. All of this has led, of course, Donald Trump to be very, very salty. In fact, here's what he said about the New York Times as well as the poll. The failing New York Times is down 40% year to date because they are fake news. Their reporters are dishonest, and their front page has become a work of total fiction. Not news. They hate our country, and they hate reporting the truth, which is why America is not respected and has never been weaker. Really? Okay. The New York Times, he also says, will continue to decline because people no longer believe their reporting is even close to being true. Fake polls, phony stories, and made-up quotes, they are disgrace to journalism, and have said it back many, many years. The New York Times is truly the enemy of the people. Does he have any idea who does polls? Now, look, the New York Times reported this poll, but the New York Times did not do the poll, did not conduct the poll. It just reported on it. This was actually done by Siena College. But overall, Trump's insanity aside, it really does look like there is no appetite for a redo of 2020, which is Biden versus Trump. And so, look, I don't blame them. Again, I'm one of those people who do not want to see that. I want to see a progressive challenger take on Republicans. And so that's what it ultimately is all about. It's about getting a progressive challenger to fight Republicans, someone we know is going to actually fight. The only people that seem to want to do a rematch here are Democratic consultants, of course, who get paid whether or not they win or lose, and Donald Trump himself, who again doesn't believe polls. Donald Trump doesn't believe in polls, and let's be honest, he might try to steal the 2024 election if he's the nominee, with the help of some elected Republicans, like the Sedition Caucus. So, that said, I feel it. I feel it in my soul, right? I feel like the Democratic Party needs new leadership, and they need it absolutely badly. Primary Biden, primary the corporate Democrats, who are holding back the agenda of securing and expanding reproductive rights, who are holding back voting rights, who are holding back higher wages, health care, etc. Get rid of all of those people so that, and replace them with progressives so that we can crush Republicans and actually deliver for the American people. We don't want Republicans. We want to fight Republicans. We want to destroy Republicans. And if you are not, and I mean at the ballot box, and if you are standing in the way, if you are doing deals, crappy deals with Republicans that aid and abet them, no, you got to go. Get out of our way so we can fight and win. There. All right, and I've got more on this topic. Let's do it. It appears that President Joe Biden is not backing off his plans to nominate an anti-abortion attorney to a lifetime federal judgeship in Kentucky. This is even after they've gotten a lot of pushback, despite strong opposition from Democrats as well as reproductive rights groups, according to a source recently briefed on the White House's plans. White House officials have refused to talk about Chad Meredith. That is the judge, that is the anti-choice judge that is being appointed to this lifetime Kentucky federal judgeship. This is ever since the Louisville Courier Journal reported late last month that he is the president's pick for the soon-to-be vacant U.S. District Court seat in eastern Kentucky. The newspaper even provided copies of June 23rd emails from the White House to Governor Andy Beshear, confirming Biden's plan to nominate Meredith, a member of the Conservative Federalist Society who has fought against reproductive rights. So again, the Federalist Society, if it sounds familiar, those are that is the group in which all the conservative justices on the Supreme Court belong to that voted against Roe and had lied to get on the court in order to get a chance to dismantle reproductive rights. And yet the White House has said, oh yeah, no, we're definitely gonna nominate this guy. I mean, it's already pretty much set in stone. Oh, great. Wonderful. So now, look, the White House had initially told Beshear that Meredith would be nominated on June 24th. That was actually the day the Supreme Court had overturned Roe, which, as I remind you, caught the White House completely off guard. All the Democrats, the only thing that they seemed to be prepared to do was to blast out constant fundraising emails saying, oh my gosh, you quick, send us $15. Okay, but for what? You had all that ready, but you didn't actually have a plan to try to protect reproductive rights. In fact, the person charged with monitoring this Supreme Court decision was literally out doing a coffee run. And earlier that day, a staffer said emphatically, oh no, don't worry. They're not going to make a decision today. Trust me. Oops. No, complete and utter failure and absolute incompetence. I mean, considering how the leaked draft had been out for about 2 months at that time, and they had no plan. And it took them even longer to come up with a plan. But let me, but of course, this was actually their plan, to nominate an anti-choice judge to a lifetime appointment. Now, of course, Democrats are not happy about this. In fact, Beshear called the nomination indefensible. Representative John Yarmouth of Kentucky said the last thing we need is another extremist on the bench. And yet, of course, the Biden administration says, oh, yeah, no, but you don't understand. But we think you should have one on the bench, actually, for a lifetime appointment. 8 national abortion rights groups also joined in a joint statement saying that Meredith is unacceptable at any time, but especially on the heels of 6 Supreme Court justices taking away a fundamental right from millions of people. Even Tim Kaine decided to hop off the side of the milk carton because he was missing for the whole 2016 campaign. Nobody knew where he went, and then disappeared soon after. He came out and said, "Ooh, you know what? Not a good idea. Not a good idea, guys." He said, "I do not think this is the kind of person that a Democratic majority should put on the bench." And yet, with all of that criticism, they have decided to double down. In fact, a source briefed last week on the White House's plan talked to HuffPost, and he said basically, quote, of the White House and this decision, they're defending it. They're defending it. And of course, look, I've reported on this, where the White House called pro-choice activists said that they were out of step with the mainstream of the Democratic Party. Who's out of step? The vast majority of the Democratic Party supports Roe. The vast majority of the Democratic Party disagrees with the Supreme Court and their decision and wants to protect abortion rights, reproductive rights, wants to codify Roe. And yet, here is the White House making deals with Mitch McConnell to appoint a lifetime anti-choice justice to a federal judgeship. It seems like the White House and Democratic leadership are out of touch with everyone else. They're out of step with the rest of the Democratic Party. And I mean leadership, people like Nancy Pelosi, Steny Hoyer, Jim Clyburn, they all went out. And this is, again, after the leaked draft, they went and stumped for an anti-choice candidate for the House, Henry Cuellar, while he was being challenged by a pro-choice progressive woman. Their support, if they had thrown it to Cisneros, she could have won. There were just less than 200 votes that separated them. But you saw Pelosi, Cuellar, or I'm sorry, not Cuellar, Pelosi, Clyburn, Hoyer, all lining up, the establishment lining up behind Cuellar. And then having the gall to blast out fundraising emails saying, please send us money, and then elect Democrats that are pro-choice, when they just got a anti-choice Democrat elected in Texas and are now doing this. Democratic leadership is trash. And here's why. If you needed any more, they could not make an exception to the filibuster. And by the way, Biden has called for a carve-out for the filibuster for reproductive rights. But those, again, that's just words, right? They couldn't do that, though. They couldn't do a carve-out, mansion and cinema, or no way in hell. But they did get a carve-out for what? Raising the debt ceiling. Suddenly, when you have to raise the debt ceiling, you have all the votes you could ever need. Why is that? It's because their stock portfolios are on the line. When it comes to their own money, that's when they care. But when it comes to reproductive rights, they don't give a goddamn. They aid and abet Republicans all day and even nominate them to lifetime positions. But it gets worse, if you can believe it. Because now it's been reported that Biden did this deal with McConnell. Well, obviously, why do you do a deal? I mean, you give them something that they want, but you're supposed to get something in return, right? Well, we actually don't even know what he's going to get in return. And neither do the Democrats in Congress. In fact, notable non-progressive Dick Durbin says he talked to the White House to learn more about the deal, okay? And here's what Durbin told the HuffPost, quote, I said, what's in it for us? Perfectly fair, legitimate question. if you're going to make a deal with McConnell, it better be good. It better be worth it, right? Now, of course, any deal that's worth it, Republicans are not going to take anyway. So let's just be honest about that. But the response from the White House was this, quote, they haven't given any specific answer. So aren't you supposed to actually get something? I mean, look, maybe Biden did, maybe Biden's just hiding Biden, right? And because he doesn't want to embarrass Republicans into going back on their word. And maybe it's something really good, but probably not. But the fact that they won't tell their own members what kind of deal they made, what they're going to get in return, and these are people who are going to be confirming this justice. It's got to go through the Senate. So you got to get Democrats on board, right? So, it kind of makes you wonder if this deal is any good. I'm not sure exactly what would be good enough in exchange for this lifetime appointment. But when Durbin was asked, here's what he said he would want. Comprehensive immigration reform. Okay, well, depending on what's in it. I mean, you could have a conversation about it, right? I'm willing to have that conversation just to see what exactly Republicans will be willing to give up. Because I don't think they'll be giving up anything, really, not that much. But we know, again, Republicans are not going to give Democrats a good deal because Democrats always negotiate from a position of weakness and give away just about everything at the beginning. And they give up everything in order to get something tiny. And then they go and they call it historic. Historic. Look, a great example of that is the recent gun control bill, which didn't actually really have anything related to gun control in it. Didn't ban assault rifles, didn't ban high-capacity magazines, didn't even do a national red flag law. It just gave funding to states that are doing red flag laws. That's it. Nothing really in it. But guess what? Democrats did this deal. This was bipartisan, and that's why it was bipartisan, because it didn't have any gun control in it. And now they're out there saying, oh, historic reform. Historic reform. And then, well, what's funny is that once, once there's another mass shooting, and knowing this is America, it's going to be like, well, it's Tuesday, so any day now, we're going to have another mass shooting. We haven't already had one in the last couple of days. Republicans are going to point at this, and they're going to say, look, we passed gun control. We did everything Democrats wanted, which is not true at all, but facts don't matter to them. And they're going to say gun control doesn't work. We need to give people more guns. That's what they're going to do. Okay? They're the world's worst negotiators. And so finally, I want to say, wakey, wakey, Democrats. Democratic voters. Wake up. There's no reason for you to be sleeping. Unlike Joe, who's always taking a nap. You got to wake up. You got to see what's going on here. And you actually have to be able to see criticism and not dismiss it immediately. So here's what I'm saying. I'm not saying don't vote. Okay? I'm actually saying the opposite. I'm saying help us. Help progressives to get rid of the feckless Democratic leadership. And to hold everyone accountable for what they do and what they don't do. Vote for progressives in primaries. And when you're not doing that, because electoral politics is a small part of this, okay? We need to organize, strengthen the power of labor, work towards building a real general strike nationwide. And a general strike, okay, only works if millions of people take part. And you're only going to get millions of people to take part if you have the organization, if you put in the work. Organization, groundwork, mutual aid networks, in order to try to sustain people while they do that. And that's just one thing. And that's one thing that could do real change. That is one thing that could actually force politicians to do something. Because if you shut down the economy, it's their money at stake. Electing progressives to replace or negate people like Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, as well as the Nancy Pelosi's of the world, that's another thing that you could do. But if we don't do that, if you don't start getting involved as Democrats and voting for progressives instead of the incumbents that have done nothing, then Republicans will continue to get massive wins and will continue to push us further and further into fascism. That is a fact. So why don't we get together and actually do something? Okay. Holy shit, that is a wall of text. Wow. Wow. Oh, wow. That is gigantic. Holy crap. Blue MAGA in the house. I would read that, but it takes like, it'll probably take like 5 minutes. Wow. Okay, anyway, let's move on. Let's go after Fox News. Did I get chewed out? No, it's Blue MAGA. If you at all criticize Democrats from the left, you are automatically the enemy. And you are helping Trump and you are helping Republicans, even though I just pointed out and had very solid evidence that it's actually Biden as well as the Democratic leadership that is aiding and abetting Republicans. If you aid and abet Republicans, you're not a good Democrat. You're a terrible Democrat, and you need to be replaced. I'm looking at Facebook. So there's this a very, very big, very Blue MAGA comment here that I am going to save. Because it might even be a bot. I don't know. No, it is absolutely who they are, Blue MAGA. Because what they're doing is that they're acting like Trump supporters who, again, have a slavish devotion to one single candidate. And if you have any sort of criticism, you're fake news, you're bad, you're helping the other side, you're evil, etc. Okay, anyway, let's move on. Let's go to gas prices. Gas prices have been a pretty big concern since they rose sharply at the beginning of the Russian invasion into Ukraine. Of course, they had been rising previously. Now, the cause for the spike in fuel prices, of course, that coincided with the aforementioned invasion, also coincided with as a result of the pandemic, OPEC raising, or I should say, lowering their production, and as well as rising demand following the pandemic. Now, also important to point out is the role of corporate greed. Now, even though President Biden does not actually control gas prices, no president controls gas prices, the right wing still loves to attack him And they attack all Democratic presidents when gas prices are high, and they tend to give all the credit to Republican presidents when gas prices are low. However, of course, when gas prices are high under Republicans, they completely ignore it. And when gas prices are low under Democrats, they also ignore it. It's fascinating how that works. But, that is until now, which I think is really interesting. So here's an example. Here's Fox News saying lower gas prices are now maybe not a good thing.
In Delaware and northern Maryland, regular gas is about anywhere from $4.55 to $4.80 a gallon. So the price is beginning to creep back down.
It is. And the point was made over the weekend, I believe it was the Wall Street Journal, that gas prices are actually coming back down historically faster with the price of oil than usual. And it just goes to show you what an incredible risk reward calculation has to happen on the part of those small, independently owned, most of them, mom and pop gas stations. It's a struggle for all of them.
I'm really worried about the mom and pop gas stations. I mean, gas is going down too fast. Wait, hold on. So understand how this narrative has changed, okay? So look, I'm going to go and I put together a compilation of some of the different reports from Fox News talking about how Joe Biden has been destroying oil and gas, and it's all part of his evil plan to push the Green New Deal. In fact, here it is.
In Delaware.
Biden's plan to destroy America.
Over an economy built on fossil fuels. Well, you'd first have to break the existing economy.
It's almost as though they're moving us deliberately into like a Venezuela kind of thing.
Like we all know this, he aims to obliterate our oil and gas industry.
You might use a war underway across the world to declare an energy shortage in your country and then make fossil fuels unaffordable for the average person.
So it's bad enough the woke Bidens have relied on nutty ideas like the social cost of carbon. But they've also added states and counties and native tribes into the decision-making process.
But when it comes to energy prices and it comes to gas in particular, I think we need to remember that this is the result of deliberate policy on the part of the Democrats, and it seems like they're more focused on shutting down the fossil fuel industry than keeping gas affordable for everyday Americans.
He's waged war on American energy domestic production, and that's why you see gas prices through the roof.
Like day by day, this anti-fossil fuel obsession is making us weaker. So we've gone from self-sufficient to dependent. We're beggars for energy from despots around the world.
Huh. Interesting. So, look, we go from Biden's policies on fossil fuel are destroying America and making you pay more on purpose in order to push green energy and or making us dependent on Saudi Arabia. I'm assuming that they mean Saudi Arabia, which is funny because they love Saudi Arabia. They love our allies because we're literally working together with them to bomb Yemen into the Stone Age. And look, we were doing so under Trump. Weird. But yet we went from that to, guys, whoa, gas is going down too fast. Will someone please think of the mom and pop gas station owners? Really? So, for one, I've never seen a mom and pop gas station. I'm sure they used to exist, but pretty much all I see now are chains. So, what this is pure Fox News Biden derangement syndrome. Now, look, I get all sorts of shit for criticizing Biden, right? For legitimate things. But here is Fox News criticizing the president who does not control gas prices for ridiculous things. And so, I mean, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. But again, as George W. Bush said, I wish I had a magic wand for gas, low gas. No, there is no magic wand. And furthermore, look, the Green New Deal, I got news for you. It's not in effect. It's never been passed. In fact, a lot of the climate agenda that Biden has done has been through executive order. Now, while he's done some good things through executive orders, he's also expanded oil and gas leases, even when he said he wasn't going to expand oil and gas leases. So, and furthermore, again, the Democratic establishment is not in favor of the Green New Deal because it's too progressive, it's too bold. In fact, Nancy Pelosi called it the green dream or whatever. So, look, establishment Democrats also are invested in oil and fossil fuel stocks. Joe Manchin is a literal coal baron. And look, these companies, these oil companies, they've had money. And what have they done with it? Well, instead of drilling new wells that could have increased the supply, that Biden gave them leases on, by the way, where they could drill, they've instead done billions of dollars of stock buybacks and have given out dividends while keeping their supply low, which means prices stay high while demand is high. And now, of course, that's there's more supply now, partly thanks to Biden releasing some of the strategic reserve, but now there's also less demand because we're looking at a recession, a possible recession. I would say that we're already basically in a recession. And look, that's a result of the Federal Reserve raising interest rates to try to fix inflation, which will not actually fix inflation. It will not actually make gas more cheaper. It will actually not make groceries cheaper. And that's not me saying it. That's Jerome Powell when he was questioned by Elizabeth Warren asking that, hey, if you hike interest rates, will that do anything to lower food prices? Will that do anything to lower gas prices? And he said, no. Well, so then what the hell's the point? What the hell's the point? Well, it turns out the point is for them to make unemployment higher. Now, the one thing is that unemployment is actually really low. It's at record low, it's 3.6%. And there are a lot of companies that are like, we just can't keep people. We can't keep people working. Nobody wants to work. Nobody wants to work. No, nobody wants to work for lower wages. And so the solution pushed by the Federal Reserve is to increase interest rates to try to force a recession, to slow down demand, to increase unemployment, to drive down wages. So at the end of the day, that's going to cause more economic pain and not actually fix the problems with inflation. It's just going to make it so that more people struggle in poverty. And at the end of the day, unfortunately, that's what a lot of these people in power want, especially the ghouls over at Fox News. They want you to be, to have less money. They want you to be desperate for work, to work for lower wages, while still paying higher prices. They want you to get further into debt while they continue to make record profits. That's what it's always been about, unfortunately. Okay. Moving on. Go to Herschel Walker. Make him more, even more desperate to improve morale. What was it that saying? Beatings will increase until, beatings will commence until they increase morale or something like that. I don't remember what that saying was from, or exactly what it was verbatim, but that's almost what it seems like sometimes. All right. Republican candidate Herschel Walker thinks that laws against air pollution are bad because the good air will just go to China.
In America, have some of the cleanest air and cleanest water of anybody in the world. So what we do is we're going to put from the Green New Deal millions or billions of dollars cleaning our good air up. So all of a sudden China and India ain't putting nothing in there cleaning that situation up. So all that bad air is still there. But since we don't control the air, our good air decided to float over to China, bad air. So when China gets our good air, their bad air gotta move. So it moves over to our good air space. And now we gotta clean that back up.
That's not how that works. Air is not conscious. It does not decide to go to China. Wow. All right, so that's incredibly stupid. But it gets worse, of course, as always. But he said, we have the cleanest air in the water. No, we don't. That's a lie. Not true at all. Thanks to our very weakly regulated country, we actually rank about 16th in air quality in the world. That's according to the Environmental Performance Index. Water quality is even worse. The U.S. ranks 26 in quality of sanitation and drinking water. So it's just bad. Now, there are cities like Flint that have lead in the drinking water, and that you can have these Republicans, these chuds, that are like, oh, let's deregulate it even further. Why? So our corporate donors can make more and more money. That's it. I mean, that's the reality of the situation. Now, here's the thing about Walker. Okay, Walker, I think we've already figured out that Walker is not a smart person. Not the most intelligent. Not the biggest brain. So let's be honest.
I'm cognitively there.
He's not. So look, Republicans, I've said before, have taken advantage of him. I think he's brain damaged. I think Republicans were like, this guy is dumb enough to hold a pen and sign whatever we, tell him to sign. We give him money, and he'll serve us. And he'll do so without question. Not only that, but he's also a pathological liar, hiding his kids. I mean, literally from his own campaign team. And so we've talked about that as well. That said, it's his campaign team that came out and doubled down on this. In fact, this is campaign manager Scott Paradise. He said that Walker meant to say that China was primarily responsible for causing COVID and polluting the air. Now, look, is China putting out air pollution? Yeah, of course. Are they putting in a lot of air pollution? Yeah. Absolutely they are. And they're, they have a lot of coal plants, and so there's no doubt that they're putting out a lot of air pollution. But they're doing something that we're not doing. They're actually trying to invest to mitigate some of that carbon that they're putting out in the atmosphere. And they're doing investments in green technology. And so that's important, okay? Now, that is technology that we could be manufacturing and developing here in the United States. We have the capability with the capacity to do so, but we refuse to do it. Why? Because we have troglodytes in the Republican Party, as well as corporate Democrats that are funded by fossil fuels. Henry Cuellar, of course, raided by the FBI for oil deals done with Azerbaijan, or alleged oil deals, right? Joe Manchin, it's a literal coal baron. And so you have those people, you have other people that are invested in fossil fuels and the Democratic Party and the entire Republican Party, basically owned by fossil fuels. They're the ones that are preventing us from actually doing something. Now, we could do technology like solar panels, and guess what? I know that one of the things that conservatives are like, oh, see, Biden's trying to buy solar panels from China so that China could control everything. Why don't we manufacture them here? Why don't we manufacture solar panels in this country and then sell them to China. Wouldn't that be smart? As well as using it ourselves. That would be smart. But we're not smart here. We don't do smart things. We do things that help corporations, and that's it. So we listen to troglodyte Republicans and their fossil fuel donors, and we let China take the advantage on renewable energy while our air quality continues to get worse. And while they push people like Herschel Walker, who are going to be an absolute disaster. But again, none of this matters to the real people that are in charge, corporate donors. Because as long as they keep making more money, they're going to keep pushing people like this. All right. One last story. Republican Senator Josh Hawley was shut down during a U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee hearing on abortion access in post-Roe America. So I'm going to show you a video here. This is Dr. Kiara Bridges, who brilliantly explains why Hawley's line of questioning is transphobic. Take a look.
Professor Bridges, you said several times, you've used a phrase, I want to make sure I understand what you mean by it. You've referred to people with a capacity for pregnancy. Would that be women?
Many women, cis women, have the capacity for pregnancy. Many cis women do not have the capacity for pregnancy. There are also trans men who are capable of pregnancy, as well as non-binary people who are capable of pregnancy.
So this isn't really a women's rights issue.
We can recognize that this impacts women while also recognizing that it impacts other groups. Those things are not mutually exclusive, Senator Hawley.
Oh, so your view is that the core of this right then is about what?
So I want to recognize that your line of questioning is transphobic, and it opens up trans people to violence by not recognizing that.
Wow, you're saying that I'm opening up people to violence by asking whether or not women are the folks who can have pregnancies?
So I want to note that 1 out of 5 transgender persons have attempted suicide. So I think it's important
because of my line of questioning? So we can't talk about it?
Because denying that trans people exist and pretending not to know that they exist
I'm
is
denying that
dangerous.
trans people exist by asking you if you're talking about women having pregnancies?
Do you believe that men can get pregnant?
No, I don't think women can get
So
pregnant.
you are denying that trans people exist?
And that leads to violence? Is this how you run your classroom? Are students allowed to question you?
Absolutely.
Or are they also treated like this, where
No,
they're told that they're opening up people to violence?
We have a good
by
time in my
questioning?
class. You should join.
Oh, I bet.
You might learn a lot.
I love it. So, Dr. Kiara Bridges, that was an amazing response. I absolutely love it. And I absolutely love the shutting down of his questions. And because what it is that she's basically telling him, look, the reason that this is transphobic, you're denying trans people. You're denying the fact that they exist. And you're cutting them out of the equation. You're cutting them out of existence. And understand that that's the Republican Party. That's what they want to do. They want to eliminate trans people. They want them dead. And whether or not they take their own lives, that just makes it easier for Republicans, right? And so they go through and they try to ostracize them and erase them as much as possible. But yes, men can get pregnant. Trans men get pregnant. Anyone with a uterus can get pregnant. Anyone with a uterus is affected by Roe and reproductive rights. That's it. That's it. And so, yes, it is transphobic to cut them out of the conversation. It is transphobic to ignore their existence. And I think that, again, she's brilliantly pushing back against his hateful rhetoric, his hateful nonsense. And by the way, I do hope that he goes to that class and actually, I don't know, gets an education and actually learns what it is to be, a trans person. Simple as that. And so I absolutely, again, love that she shut him down. That is absolutely what he deserves. Good on her. And her answer, fantastic. And I wish, yes, I do wish more people would push back like she did. Absolutely. All right. And that's all I got here today. All right. Let's go to Super Chats here. And see if there are any things on Twitch. Let's go to Twitch first. Obroski Live, thank you for the 100 bits. Appreciate that. Hunger Games 1989, thank you for subbing for a month to Tier 1. Appreciate that. 7 months of Wallard Nation, where's the time go? Madness, I tell you, madness. Beth Graham 76, resubbing for a month at Tier 1 for 4 months. Appreciate that. Thank you very, very much. Go over to YouTube Super Chat. Let's see. Dystopian Dragon says, sarcasm warning, Joe Biden has nothing but empty words. Well, unless it's, to his donors, through which he said nothing will fundamentally change. And it's true. And absolutely true. All right. So, the beatings will continue until morale improves. Thank you. That's exactly what I was looking for. The phrase. Sometimes I have a hard time with that. Koryu, thank you for resubbing. Wow, you've been a member for 30 months. Wow. Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Let's see. Do I have any new other new memberships? Let's see. Just a couple of days ago, the Black Unfold, and again, Emo Dragon. So thank you. Man, there are 30 months. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate that. You are why I can continue to do this. All right. So everybody, don't worry. We'll talk about some of the testimony from the January 6th committee tomorrow. So that's going to be fun and interesting. Lots of stuff that happened there. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night. Love you. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. We'll see you all tomorrow.
There's insanity in the control room.
Dumps. Big, massive dumps.
Tighten up my meat.
They're kicking me out the door. They're kicking me out the door. Disappointed.